All right. So check that I'm live. All right. So, all right. All those watching afterwards. Uh, the description. Well, the title of the video says it all. We're going to be discussing love and kind of breaking it down and that sort of thing, as far as my perception of it. Uh, if you feel differently on this, then go ahead. Let me know what you think down in the comments. For those who are going to be watching later on, hopefully enjoy it. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Uh, First question I guess I need to answer is, what is love? Well, for me, love has two different forms. You've got physical, or as I refer to it as chemical love. Hey, love is not real. How's it going? And then you have emotional or psychological love. Now, as far as physical is concerned, its nature is carnal, and it requires a few things, just like emotional does. So, what does physical or chemical love require? It requires close proximity. When the person's gone, you're not really feeling anything. You're not really thinking about them, or if you do think about them, you're thinking about their body, not them as a person, not about talking with them or anything like that. It also requires pheromones. That also has to do with close proximity. It's more of a chemical reaction than anything else. It's that kind of rush of blood that you get when you're next to someone that you're very much so physically attracted to. Hey MH, hey Bullet, how's it going? Uh, and this is gonna be a shorter stream, guys. So, but it does require physical attraction. In other words, you have to be physically attracted to the person. Like, their body is one of the major things that is attracting you. Again, comes down to the carnal aspect. It's more of the animalistic part. Um, the only prospect that's really required for that kind of love, quote unquote, and there's a difference between love and lust. There is a difference as far as physical love and all that, but the two do cross over quite often. Uh, it only requires the prospect of getting laid or to gain resources or social standing. Uh, it also requires the quote unquote love chemical cocktail. In other words, that uh, high that you get when you first fall in love, the thing that eating chocolate actually simulates to a lesser degree. It's more of a endocrine system reaction than anything else. So it's not an emotional aspect, it's a strictly physical aspect, typically. And to go ahead and sound overly heartless, I'll just go ahead and say this. It's basically down to, do you want to mate with this person? It's that level of carnal, that level of primal. Um, and people have confused that for love nowadays. Uh, but So I think that is a major problem as far as that goes. And me and Sin actually went ahead and did a live stream uh, last night or earlier this morning, however you want to look at it. And we kind of talked on this, but I wanted to talk about it here. Then you have the second type of love, which is the emotional or the psychological love. And of course, its nature is psychological. And what it requires is proximity and absence. You know, the saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder. Well, when you're feeling emotional love, that is actually true. When you think about the person, get those butterflies in your stomach, so on and so forth. Um, it also requires compatible personality characteristics. I mean, yes, opposites attract, but the thing is eventually it gets to be a grading thing. You have to have at least some things in common as far as your personality. Um, hey Malcolm, hey Freedom, how's it going? Uh, it also requires acceptance of minor flaws in the other person, or even finding those minor flaws as part of their endearing qualities. For example, like if there's a girl that you liked in high school or something like that, uh, like for example, in high school there was this one girl that I liked, and she had an excellent personality, all that sort of thing. Don't know if it ended up changing or anything like that. But when she laughed really hard, when it was that true laugh, she would actually have a little bit of a snort in there. And even though that's considered something, you know, negative in a lot of people's minds or unattractive in a lot of people's minds, it was one of the things that endeared me to her. Whenever I heard that, it hit me like a Mack truck, and so that's more of an emotional love because it's not a attraction. Um, it also requires hope of a future with that person. And I'm not talking about a future of that person like necessarily the white picket fence, but just them being part of your life. Uh, like if you can't imagine your life without that person, well, you're probably in the more emotional aspect of love. Whereas if you could easily imagine them not being a part of your life and you being with someone else, then it's probably more of that carnal love at that point. It also requires apathy concerning judgment of others. Like if you were with a woman and maybe she had some sort of physical defect about her. Maybe she had a burn, or maybe she's a little bit more on the chunky side, whatever, whatnot. If people are sitting there and talking down about it, or trying to sit there and say that you are a uh, that they're trying to say that you're a loser because you're with this person, you can't possibly get anyone else. It requires that you have apathy there. In other words, you just don't give a fuck about what they're saying, because if you love that person, you love that person. Um, and you're not going to let other people sitting there and insulting you affect how you feel about that person. Um, it also requires positive and negative physical, some positive and negative physical feelings at the thought of the other person. For example, the butterflies in the stomach, the pounding heart, pain in the heart at the thought of them not being in your life, just to name a few. But the thing is at that point, that shows that you have like this internal yearning for the person. Um, but now we're going to go ahead and get into the hard parts for people nowadays. And I'll go ahead and I'll expand on this later. I'm actually kind of running down a list right now that I actually pre-prepared for myself because I wanted to cover all these things. Um, you need to have reciprocity for continued love and devotion in the emotional or psychological aspect of love. Um, you also have to have trust, and you also have to have honesty, because you can't have trust without honesty. So it is required that you have honesty there. Um, you also have to have genuine caring for the well-being of this other person. Maybe not necessarily 100% above your well-being, but if you find yourself constantly wanting to make the person smile, constantly want to make the person laugh, you feel like this deep-seated need to you know try to make their day just that little bit brighter. Those are all parts of emotional love. You're not going to get that with the carnal aspect. But that is a that's basically my list there. So let's go ahead and kind of unpack it. I'm going to focus more on the emotional aspect of love, because we're all familiar with the carnal version of love. We're all familiar with that. We're accused of only being able to feel that as men. So As far as the emotional aspect of it, like it's one of those situations where I really think that a lot of people are starting to confuse emotional love with physical love. I really don't think that there's a lot of people out there that uh, that actually know the difference between the two. If you ask them what love is, they will more than likely mention the things that are on the carnal list, and then maybe one or two of the things in the emotional list. Um, and I think that's where we're having a lot of problems right now. And so when it comes down to that, uh, I really think that that is where we have our problems. And in my discussion with Sin, I came out and said, you know, honestly, I think it's uh, groups like feminists that have actually led to this because they actually devalued the emotional type of love and put physical love in the forefront, put more onus on physical love, more importance on physical love. And so now women are searching for this physical love, but they're feeling that emptiness of emotional. And that's where you're seeing women getting less and less happy, more and more depressed, so on and so forth. And men have had this for a long time because it's been thought that men don't need this. But the men that are the happiest actually end up finding this. And the thing is it doesn't have to be a sexual attraction that's there for this kind of love. In fact, if you look at, like, if you go back and re-listen to my personal definition of emotional or psychological love, you notice nothing in there has to do with sex. Nothing in there has to do with the physical aspect of the other person. Only physical aspects of you. Hey Bob, how's it going? But at this point, uh, when we go ahead and we think of love, it's hey, how's it going, MGTOW? A lot of us will think of the carnal aspects of it, and the thing is with guys, we actually tend to express through the carnal aspect the emotional aspect, and so women misconstrue that and actually think that that's all that we feel is the carnal. Um, and it's just a difference in the way men and women function. No, it's not one of that. And so at this point, uh, both men and women are suffering on this. Men have been suffering it for a lot longer, but now women are starting to feel the sting because now women have started looking at love in the same way that they think that men have looked at love. They're forcing themselves to lie to themselves and think that they're wanting the same thing that they've perceived that men want. And the thing is even men don't necessarily want that. I mean, do we have those sexual desires? Of course, yes, we do. We have that carnal nature about us. But honestly, I think we're finding ourselves in this situation because of the downplaying of the emotional and psychological love needs that men have. Um, and I think that's one of the hardest things about being MGTOW personally, is because at this point, I've pretty much given up on any hope of finding that emotional or psychological love. Uh, and to me, that is actually a very depressing prospect. Uh, Me ending up being alone and that sort of thing, that's not a problem. But what the problem is at times I actually feel pretty self-segregated out. And so it's a really difficult thing. And when people sit there and say there's no such thing as love, I can easily call bullshit on it. I mean, I do agree with them. In modern day society, like honestly, there's really no love amongst people. There really isn't nowadays. But the thing is, and I understand that top of the food chain. Top of the food chain says you will not be alone. Male friends will become more valuable. But the thing is there's also that deep-seated uh, aspect in us, and it's kind of a fail-safe that nature put into us, uh, where we want someone of the opposite gender as a companion. And to deny that is actually very dangerous, to be perfectly honest. I'm not saying that you should give into it, but, and especially in the current climate, I'm not saying that. So no one please, there's plenty of reasons to not, but I'm saying that it's incredibly sad that we're at this point. Um, and I agree with you, top of the food chain. Top of the food chain actually just put this in to the perfect wording, in my opinion. Uh, MGTOW is as unnatural as feminism, and it's our only defense right now, and that's the reason why men are doing this. In fact, men have not really fought nature as much as women have. Um, and right now, this is actually something that's somewhat relatively new to men, and so it is weighing heavily. And so I don't disagree with you there. I'm not saying that MGTOW is necessarily bad because it is a natural defense at this point. Um, I don't blame any men for going MGTOW that go MGTOW. But also at the same time, I'm saying it comes at a cost. And it comes at a great cost on an emotional level. And the thing is a lot of people don't realize that we actually already have the answers here. And there's plenty of instances of the right answer. And I'm not talking about movies and so on and so forth. In fact, I think that one of the biggest things that people find threatening at this point. Um, Sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was reading the chat. But when it comes down to us wondering what's gone wrong between men and women, um, funnily enough, when I sit there and I actually take a look at stuff like anime and all that, um, a lot of guys are, getting made fun of for having waifus and that sort of thing. But the thing is, I say we take a look at it. Why? Why are guys in this situation? Why are guys finding more solace in the synthetic than in the real world? It's because their needs aren't being met in the real world. And men's needs, as far as love has been concerned, haven't been met in the real world for a long, long time. And so the thing is in anime you get that. In these dating sims you get that. It's a lot easier for guys to connect with these pre-programmed women than the ones that are going off the rails right now. The ones that are sitting there and denying what they actually want. And so at this point, I really don't know how this is going to end. I mean, it's still very possible for us to pull back into the right course. We're not off the edge of the map yet. And so, and I think that there's a little bit of uh, at top of what top of the food chain just posted. He said women are waiting for us to violently reinforce nature and happiness upon them. Force of will is what they respect, and I do agree with that at this point. He also says he feels bad for millennial men of reason. And I guess technically I fall into millennials. I guess I was at the very beginning of the millennial age. Um, like I was literally born the year that the whole millennial thing is apparently supposed to be. But the thing is this is something that us as MGTOWs actually have to address. Because if we don't address this, I really think that there's going to be a lot of men that go into deep depression because of MGTOW. And I want to avoid that. And so when I really do want to address this, and I want to try to help out some of my MGTOW brothers at this point, because I know that it's exceedingly difficult. Because before I became MGTOW, I was actually a hopeless romantic. I don't know if any of you know this about me, um, and I guess I still technically am a little bit. Um, but at this point, I've been noticing that at least with some of the MGTOW men around here, they've actually started becoming more reclusive. They're starting to exhibit a lot of signs of depression, um, and the discussions that I've been having with them have actually been kind of focusing in on this because a lot of guys want to go ahead and talk about this, but we've got some forces in the MGTOW community that will actively try to shame guys for even bringing this up or admitting it. And I'm seeing the level of damage that that's causing. I already said before in previous streams that I'm scared that MGTOW is going to go the way of feminism. And I'm kind of seeing it. So I want to go ahead, and if anyone ever wants to talk to me in private, can go ahead and personal message me on Discord. I won't post anything. I won't let anyone know about it. I won't talk about it. I won't use your name or anything like that. Uh, but I know that there are some guys out there that have a really hard time with it, but they don't want to openly admit it, again, because of the backlash in the community. And so I'm willing to take the backlash in the community. I don't really see it. And so at this point, I am officially extending that invitation to anyone. Uh, I know at times I come off as a heartless bastard. I get that. I understand it, but I'm not. Um, uh, a lot of people have said that I'm caring to a fault. So I just wanted to go ahead and say that because everyone needs someone to talk to at some point. Me being a YouTuber, I actually have very few people that I can actually discuss things like this with, and it kind of stay under the radar. I actually don't really have anyone in my life that I can actually go ahead and do that. In fact, YouTube is my outlet for it. But I also, at this point, I'm having to put it out there for everyone to see and hear, which is actually the worst thing that you can do in a situation like this current one. Um, uh, One of the reasons why I came to this epiphany is because I actually have been feeling the same way myself. But the reason why I'm saying that there's some sections of MGTOW that aren't there to support other men. They're there to try to be alpha and that sort of thing. And there's a time and a place for that. But MGTOW, it's not all about testosterone because you can have the highest testosterone in the world and still have depression. Um, but the thing is, yeah, having a proper diet and an exercise routine will help out. It definitely does. It also helps you build that self confidence, which also helps stave off depression. But depression is one of those things that can come at anyone at any time. Um, So I do agree with you to some degree, Metallica, but it's also not the only thing. But yes, I do agree that it does help you think more clearly, and that it is something that a lot of men lack these days. I'm one of them. I mean, I don't have the healthiest diet in the world. I don't have an exercise routine, although I'm planning on getting into an exercise routine, whether it's lifting weights or whatever. Um, in fact, I'm working on quitting cigarettes at this point. I'm going to be starting to work on becoming more healthy. But the thing is and Bob, I hope that same thing too. Bob says all I hope is for men to find happiness with themselves. But the thing is you can't always do it alone. Um, there is an emotional aspect to it. And even if you become self actualized, part of the self actualization process is having someone to pass your knowledge onto. But I am going to go ahead and say this. At no point in MGTOW should a man ever feel you should never feel ashamed to admit if you're feeling a little depressed or a little down or whatever, however you want to put it. And you should feel, honestly, in the MGTOW community, you should feel free to talk to our brothers about it. And the thing is every once in a while, we're going to miss that dream. And we need to understand that about ourselves. It is something that's ingrained in us. And so having those feelings isn't a bad thing. And so, like me, I have my days where I'm up and I'm down. Um, I know it's not a chemical imbalance or anything like that. It's just some days you just don't you don't like it. You just don't you ask yourself, why in the fuck did I even wake up today? But the thing is we need to be able to talk to each other about this. Because I really, really don't want to see guys come into MGTOW, which is already a bitter experience as it is. Let's be honest, guys. It is a bitter experience. It can be bittersweet, but that bitterness is there. Part of MGTOW should be to get rid of that bitterness through understanding. But the thing is you have to understand yourself before you can understand anyone else. And if you're not being true to yourself, if you're not being honest with yourself, how in the fuck can you understand yourself? So, and there's going to be some guys that don't want to talk about it, and that's fine. But there are guys in the MGTOW community that are willing to talk about this. Hey, welcome to the stream, Dilgaff. I'm going to be going ahead and messaging you because I actually want to go ahead and get you on another thing. Maybe we can go ahead and expand on this thought pattern because I think you would be an excellent person to discuss this with. And Dilgaff, if you get onto the Discord, it'll be a lot easier for me to get a hold of you. But and Metallica, I'm not disagreeing with you as far as people taking onus for their own decisions and such. Uh, but the thing is MGTOW is not meant for you to be segregated and alone. That's how you lose. Yes, you should be able to function on your own. I agree. But the thing is we also have to be able to be here for each other. And the thing is another thing that I've noticed in the MGTOW community, and I want to go ahead and touch on this, is there are guys that are actually afraid of their emotions. My Discord link is actually in the description, Dilgaff, of all my videos lately. So it'll say Discord link, and you just click on it, and it'll take you to Discord. You can download it, and it'll automatically invite you in. But the thing is it's nice to have people that you know have your back and that you can talk to. But in the MGTOW spheres, I've noticed that there are guys that are afraid of their emotion, and whenever other guys are open about their emotions, it further scares them because they can't deal with their own emotions, and so them having other emotions thrown at them all of a sudden causes them to go into that attack mode, and that's something that we need to go ahead and go ahead and kind of get rid of that ingrained thing. Because at this point, we're not competing with each other anymore. That's the thing. Because the thing is yes, we can be our own island, but the thing is every once in a while an island will sink. An island will go through a catastrophe. It'll get hit by a storm. And so I just want to go ahead and say that I'm one of those ones that will go ahead. I'll listen to you if you want to talk. I have no problems with that. If you want to get onto a live stream and talk and share, if you're feeling up to that, for it, I got no problems with it. Want to keep it private, it's cool. But the thing is we need to be there for each other. I mean, especially during the holiday season, because that's one of the hardest times. And so I really think that it's absolute shame that we've gotten to this point in society. Because the thing is everyone is suffering for it. And I mean, I'm one of those people. I've dealt with bouts of depression throughout my entire life for one reason or another. But this is the first time it's ever really kind of hit me as hard as it has. I think it's because I'm seeing others going through it as well. I'm one of those people, I don't mind if I'm in pain. I can take it. But when I see other people that can't take it going through it, that's when I have an issue. Um, but that's always been how I've been. So, but if there's any way I can help, I would like to. But it's exceedingly difficult for guys to come forward about this sort of thing, uh, whether it be in a MGTOW sphere, whether it be in regular everyday society. But the thing is also if you know that you have your MGTOW brothers there, you can actually feel that connection. Because the thing is with what I was saying about emotional love, it's also known as another thing. It's called platonic love in many cases. It doesn't necessarily have to be platonic, but also at the same time, it holds all of the things that platonic love is. So, I just wanted to go ahead and talk with y'all about this and get this out there because the thing is it's extremely difficult uh, for guys that are MGTOW to learn about themselves if they can't be completely honest with themselves, and that means addressing the emotions that you feel. Because the only way that you can be free is if you can go ahead and break all the chains. And the great many chains that hold a lot of men down that I've been seeing in the MGTOW sphere is them not being able to address and unlock that emotion. Once you can control it, once you understand it, then it makes it a lot easier for you to spread your wings and fly. Whereas if you don't understand it, it's like a hummingbird trying to lift a mountain. And the thing is you having those desires, you having that deep-seated wish in your heart, wishing that you could trust women. That isn't wrong. Wishing it isn't wrong. But overriding your logic and falling into a trap, now that's the worst mistake you can make. But the thing is we all at some points have that wish until you get to some sort of Zen level where you're able to completely shut off your emotions and not go batshit crazy. But the thing is you do have to know what makes you tick, and your emotions are the driving force behind that clock, in all honesty. So, anyone out there who's having a hard time with this, know that you're not alone. Know that this doesn't make you a freak of nature. So, and if you need anyone to talk to, feel free to come into the Discord. If you want to talk with me directly, you can. If there's someone in the Discord that you talk to, feel free to go ahead and message them in confidence. Thing is especially around this time where suicide rates are at the highest, we need to be there for each other. I think Dilligaff actually covered that on his channel a little bit, and I do agree. But the thing is we have to be there for each other in every way possible. That means being willing to listen to the others, not be judgmental. Because every once in a while, you just need to be able to unload shit. So, be there for your fellow MGTOW brothers. And they'll be there for you. And the thing is maybe at that point, we can actually do something. Thing is you need to go ahead, not be afraid to talk, and you also need to be willing to listen. Because remember, one of the biggest parts of this is reciprocity. And the thing is if we have that in the MGTOW community, absolutely nothing can break us individually or as a group. And it would be kind of difficult for them to sit there and say, oh, this is a bad group, when we're actually there for each other, when we actually hold each other up, when we lift each other up, when we fall flat on our face. Lift each other up, give them a kick in the ass, and say, you can do better than this. Have them build the strength to fly on their own. And each generation pass that down. Because sadly, I don't think that MGTOW is going anywhere anytime soon. So the only way to get rid of MGTOW would be for these problems to be addressed. And as we've seen from society, they will only address the issue as it pertains to women. So society's not going to be there for us. Then guess what? We need to be there for each other. We need to be unafraid to help each other. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to end the stream here. For those of you who are having a hard time during the holiday season, know that you're not alone. Know that you can come and talk to people. MGTOW brothers are here for you. And I do wish you the happiest of holidays. And I'll go ahead and I'll talk to you later.